Hello, Warlords! Welcome to Saga Thursday, the show all about the skirmish miniatures game from Studio Tomahawk. I'm your host, Rodge, joined by my co-human host, Monty. How are you?
Rodge, I am fabulous. How about yourself?
Good. Having a good month. Dabbling with various miniatures here, doing commission stuff, and then all of a sudden, boom! I got a secret PDF in my inbox. Alex Buchel has come through once again. Studio Tomahawk. We have secret Age of Invasions knowledge ready to be unleashed. Monty, what did you think looking at this stuff? You're my main man. I couldn't keep it from you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Although it's the little circle of trust. So it is amazing, as all of these drops are. The artwork is gorgeous. The boards, this is version 2. And because of the pandemic kind of drawing this out, I think they got to cook this one for an extra long time. And as I look at it more and more, I feel like they've really, really done a great job of balancing everything within this age. It is amazing. I think people will lose their minds when they get in here. They're going to love it.
Extra savory.
Yeah.
So tender, you could cut it with a spoon. Age of Invasions. I'm impressed with what we received. So thank you to Alex for giving us the sneak peek as always. And I don't have an exact date. Basically, he sends these over as teasers when they're going to print. So it should be, I think, end of September is what I've heard. And, that sounds pretty darn likely. So these should be in everybody's hands soon enough. And it's pretty exciting looking at this. And because with the other Age of Vikings, Age of Crusades, it's been like a clean sweep. But we've been playing like in this edition. So this is like a new version of the boards that we've already been using. It's kind of weird. I don't think anything's really happened like this in Saga before, where there's been an update to boards that already existed. I mean, FAQ aside. So it's really cool. And I agree. I can tell a lot of work went into this. And I'm looking forward to diving into it with you. So we're kind of doing a new streamlined format. We're not going to do hobby talk this time. We did it last time. We're not going to do comments this time. We are going to do comments next time. So we'll be answering comments on the last 2 videos and then also this one. So if you have questions, if the book isn't out yet, maybe we can give you some tidbits. Equipment options. It's always equipment options, Monty. What do I need?
Oh, yeah.
So we will answer comments next time. We are going to talk a little bit about games. Both of us has been kind of slow since the epic Saga finale last month. So we'll talk about games a little bit, then we'll get into Age of Invasion. So, and I think this will be really quick, Monty, because it sounds like you don't really have much of any games to report on. Just a couple demos, couple teasers, getting people into it.
Right, that's it. We in the background we have a campaign moving along a little bit slowly. It's August, so lots of vacation. Everyone trying to get squeeze the last juice out of summer. So I pass on my games and throw it back to you, Rodge.
Well, all right. Well, it's kind of jumping into Invasions then, because both of the games I played were using the new Saxon board, and it was pretty darn fun. This is the board I've had my eye on. I just used my heathen models. It's basically, proto Vikings here, kind of in one way or another. So I'll talk a little bit about something that you might find interesting, because this came up in our little pre-chat here about, not necessarily we're past the demo games, but you're playing new players and you don't want to scare them off, and you don't want to play down to them necessarily either. And, so we've talked about stacking scenarios, playing the side that has the disadvantage and, choosing not optimal war bands, either construction wise or, running with the the Eastern Princes or the Poles or, whoever you think on the bottom of the heap. That's an option. But so I'm kind of going through a similar thing. We got new guys. They've had a few games. So I actually picked up some sand timers, Monty. So this is a 3 minute, a 2 minute, a 1 minute, and a 30-second. So you could use, once you hear this all out, you could use a chess clock or, people carry these devices that probably keep track of time, cell phones. So you don't necessarily need sand timers. But, I was kicking it old school Saga style. So what I've been doing is giving myself a really short amount of time to make all my decisions as a way to kind of help balance it out a little bit and kind of get me playing faster.
Yep.
I am kind of probably on the slower end of Saga players, I would say, especially the first couple turns. It does take me like a good 5 or 7 minutes looking at the board to figure out where I want to put my dice. So basically I'll talk about a game I played, Saxons against Mutatawiya. The first turn, I gave myself 3 minutes to put down all the dice, on my first turn. The second turn, I gave myself 2 minutes. And then every turn after that, I gave myself 1 minute to set down the Saga dice. And it made a difference, I think tactically, my decisions could have been better. I had an extra dice sitting on an ability that I didn't end up using and carrying stuff over. So, I think I didn't play as well under the time pressure. But once, I went through it a few times, then you really start thinking in the other guy's turn, what am I going to do? Well, instead of like turning off my brain until I roll the die, that's not a good way to run it. And then, kind of thinking too, once you have your board, what are my priorities? This is going to be the first one, the second one, if a third one, if I get a rare, where's the rare going to go? So I thought that really helped even it up. It was fun for me. And I think it was good. Hopefully that'll make me a quicker player, I think, in the long run. What do you think about that, Monty?
Well, number one, I love it. I used to play chess. I dabble just a tiny bit now, and I like chess better with the timer. But from your perspective, to kind of help balance that out, I think that's a brilliant idea. And I kind of have this vision, Rodge, of you in 3, 6, 9 months, maybe in Central Park with 4 tables of Saga, and you're going to move amongst them, right? I see it coming, man. I see it.
That'll be,
I love the idea.
Yeah, the Adepticon and a couple of years Saga tournament.
Yes,
it's everybody against me every round.
That's it.
We'll line it all up, and then I'll just go down the line.
Fantastic.
That's hilarious. Yeah, and you could definitely, I was always thinking about it. You could do it with the chess clock. And so like, your opponent, they don't care what their time is, but you have like 20 minutes, let's say, or 30 minutes, and you can decide, I could say I have to finish my whole game in 30 minutes or something, and, boop, hit it, and then, every time, you say in Melee, you're like pass, hit the button, and then they say pass, hit the button, and you move on, so even like, that kind of stuff. Or you could, roll the dice together, or, hit the button, I roll my dice, and then, hit the button, the other guy rolls his dice. So I'm kind of thinking about it. I think you could do something if both players wanted to do a speed Saga with a chess clock. I think you could make that happen. Yeah. But
I love your idea with that to kind of like equalize. And I really like the idea of having the 3 2-minute timer, and then like a few turns in, kick it down, and now it's overdrive. I want to give that a try.
Yeah, it was fun. Give it a shot. And just set up your cell phone too. You have a little timer goes off, and drop the dice,
That's
penalize
it.
yourself or something. So, yeah, definitely check that out if you're a veteran player trying to keep the noobs interested in line. And if you want to make yourself a better player, I think that'll help. So the actual game, we're playing basically the Hallowed Ground. I made a separate version, King of the Hill. So we talked about that scenario last time. We're going to talk about more scenarios in upcoming episodes. But it was a fun tit-for-tat game. And playing it made me realize that, and maybe this is why I was so interested in the Mutadawiyya and playing them eventually, is the Saxons are basically this almost the same army theme essentially. Trading defense for attack and doing some automatic hits, the more hits. It's funny, so there's one ability, I think it's death is nothing for the Saxons, and I'll tell you a funny combat we did with that one. So I had the little pack of warriors, another army. I get to use little packs of warriors, and I threw them into his warlord. I had 2 fatigues, and so I popped death is nothing, and then I popped Führer. So I removed my 2 fatigues to give him 6 more attacks, because the more damage he does to me,
right,
the more hits he's going to do to himself as a warlord. So I gave his warlord 6 extra attacks. So he had 14 attacks hitting on 4s. And then he popped on the Mutadawiyya board the exact kind of reciprocal ability where he lowers his armor by 1, and then every miss becomes a hit on me. So his hits on me cause hits on him, and then my misses cause hits on me, plus our hits and hit each other as well. So it was like this giant calculation of everything.
Right.
And
wow.
So anyways, we rolled a dice. I'm hitting his warlord, I think on 4s with maybe 6 or 7 attacks. He's got, I think, 16, or maybe he subtracts a few. I think he rolls 14. He only gets 3 hits on me, but that I need it. So 11 1s, 2s, and 3s. So I only do 1 auto hit on me, and then I only hit him once. So then it's I think 5 or 6 auto hits on me, on his version of it. I'm like, gosh, dang it. But my 1 hit and auto hit snuck through. He had 2 fatigues on him, so I took out his warlord, and then my unit was annihilated anyways. But it was kind of fun with both of those abilities queued up there.
That's clever. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, a lot of fun there. Fortunately, the death is nothing is capped at 4. But the Mutadawiyya one, there's no cap on that one.
No cap.
And then there's a element of defense with that one as well, where you jack your armor up and then you don't take damage and you really hurt the guy. Where this one is like, I really need to die to get the benefit from this ability.
Yep.
So, that was a fun game. I ended up using little 4-packs of Hearthguard again, because there's a couple abilities that you need armor buffs. So it was a good game. And why don't we kind of move on to more formal Age of Invasions talk? How about that, Monty?
Sure.
So before we dive in to some mini reviews, I would say we got some new rules and equipment, Monty. And we'll just come out. We'll just tell you what the new rules are. I don't care what the book says. We've got the Franks and Sassanids. I think it was confirmed earlier, but those are the new factions in addition to the original 6. The Sassanids are rocking elephants, and the rules look to be identical to Age of Hannibal. Is that right,
Bingo.
Monty?
That is correct.
We've got a Manu Ballista.
Oh, yeah.
Now, is this identical to before? I think you may have used this more recently than I.
Right. The problem is I put the book away, and then at some point, Rodge, I realized this was in the works, so I recycled my board. So don't ask me how close these are.
Okay.
I'm working off from memory. But I think a couple key points. So you get to trade 2 Hearthguard, 4 warriors, or 6 levies to create your Manu Ballista. It is basically counts as like a unit with a resilience of 1, 3/3 armor. No Saga die. That's very important. No Saga die on this one. But like in version 1, it continues to have the very excellent shooting ability where it can shoot 2 times L, and the shooting aggression is equal to half the number of the figures in the targeted unit. And if that weren't enough, it also gets a +1 bonus to its attack dice.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sweet.
Very nice for 6, half a point here.
Right,
and
right.
I guess I didn't know that. I'm double checking. Yeah, and it says right in there you can swap out the 2 Hearthguard, the warriors. So it's not just the levies. So if you like that 6-pack of Hearthguard, that's a path to get you there. So that's really cool.
Solid choice.
And a nice piece of equipment there. So essentially the same. New piece of kit here, Monty, in this age. And it's been in various legendary units and forms, but the Cataphract armor is finally official sanction. Yeah, this is what it's going to be from here on out. And so this is cool. So there's lots of factions that can take Cataphracts. So the Romans, the Goth, Hearthguard can be Cataphracts. The Assassinid Persians can do Cataphracts. There might be some more sprinkled out there somewhere, but basically the Cataphracts do not reduce their armor against shooting. So these are generally going to be Hearthguards almost exclusively. So they're going to maintain their 5 armor against shooting, which is awesome. On the other hand, Saga's all about giving and taketh away. So their movement distance is medium, unfortunately. They still charge long. They just move medium, which makes perfect sense. And it's kind of interesting. What do you think here, Monty? Your faction, would you always take Cataphracts, or would you still always take regular horses, or would you do both?
I might do a mix, but I want to experiment with this. So number one, I sometimes get myself in a little trouble when I have foot mixed with mounted. My mounted goes running off, and really they need to be combined arms. So I don't know that the M movement with an L charge is necessarily a bad thing for someone like me, because it keeps my units supporting each other, in theory. Second thing I really like about Cataphracts is Gripping Beast does some plastic Cataphracts. I happen to have one over here. And if you want to paint up horses quick, well, these all-armor guys will look, I think, pretty awesome. So my point is, I think they'll play well, and I think they'll paint well. And so, yeah, definitely going to take a spin.
Yeah, they definitely look cool. V&V Miniatures has some nice Cataphracts. And then the Fireforge, their Byzantine plastics are finally available for general release, and they have some really nice Cataphract armor on their horses as well. So yeah, we've got a lot of options here.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes that L plus L is key to getting that charge in. So yeah, I'm not sure. I think if I'm taking just one unit of Hearthguard, I'd probably lean towards the Cataphracts. I'm thinking about the last Romans, but obviously they don't use Cataphracts. But the way that I've used that list, they've always hung back and charge kind of later in the game. So having them weather any shooting could be more important. So if I'm just taking one unit, I think I'd probably lean towards the Cataphract. But I could definitely see if I had 2 mounted units of Hearthguard, do one cataphract and then one regular. And I think there's definitely a place for that as well. So yeah, really cool to see that. Wasn't expecting that, but pretty awesome to see. We got the War Chariot here, Monty.
Yep.
So this is distinct from the chariots in the Age of Hannibal. So there's no units of chariots as far as I can tell. It's warlords only. They can ride this sucker. They count as being mounted. Can't go into terrain. Can't go into buildings. Can't be given war banners. The we obey rule is a long instead of short. So that's very different. And their melee aggression is a 5 instead of an 8. So that's a fairly big difference.
Yeah, that is.
And they do have a base size here, 120 millimeter circle. And as far as why these are different, there's a little blurb here talking about how they're status symbols as much as they are true weapons of war. And so this is very similar to how it was in originally Age of Invasions, with the we obey being a 12 instead of a short. So cool that they decided to keep it different. Actually, I didn't expect that. I thought they would have made it the same as Hannibal Warlord. And then we got the war banners.
Yep.
Same as before, I believe.
Exactly.
So that's about it for new rules here.
That's it.
So I thought we could go through the boards a little bit. We'll talk about one battle board ability that we think is cool or clutch here, and maybe elaborate on some of the differences that we've noted here. We haven't played all of these factions, and so we might have more or less to say about some. And then I think towards the end we'll get into the Franks and Sassanids a little further. But does that sound good, Monty?
That sounds awesome. Ready to roll. Okay,
well, let's just jump in. I talked about Saxons before, so I'll just continue the Saxon talk here.
Yep.
So one ability that I wasn't expecting to see in there is Führer, which is basically the same as it was before, Monty. Did you think that was going to be in there? Were you aware of this?
I did not. If I had to guess, I would have thought that was out.
Yeah, so this ability is awesome. It replaces the combat bonus, which, that's fine, whatever. But you remove X fatigues from your unit, and your opponent gains 3 attack dice for each fatigue thus discarded. And if you use a rare, you only remove, you only give your opponent 1 attack. So this is awesome. Whenever I get in a rare, I'm putting it here. I love being aggressive with the Warlord. Now, this won't save him from shooting, but if you get 1 or 2 rares stacked up here, I mean, your Warlord is going to be a very, very tough nut to crack. Fight a combat, get exhausted. They come in, he sheds 3, they get 3 attacks more, but, versus sneaking through 4 wounds instead of 1, that's huge.
Right. And I would also pitch, and it's all hot takes, so a little nervous, but I think that's the fun of this moment. So as I look at this and think about it, like you can use this very strategically, meaning that you hit beat up units that won't be able to, like, if you remove 2 fatigues or 3 fatigues, it's a small unit and they're capped at, double whatever their base was. And if they close ranks to try to stay alive, then you can punish them by pulling, a couple of fatigues off and going, here's 6, oops, but you only get 4 or maybe only 2.
Exactly. You can really, there's a lot of interesting things you can do with this by having this. So if the opponent is auto missing because they're exhausted and you've taken that fatigues up, it doesn't matter how many extra attacks they get.
Wow.
You can really bully units, like you said. I'll charge my Hearthguard in, do some damage. I'll charge my Hearthguard into the 1 levy unit. That would be mental to do that, to put that fatigue on yourself. Well, you charge in. Maybe that's your second combat. Third activation, you go in exhausted, and pop a common dice, ditch the 3 fatigues. That levy doubles his attacks from 1 to 2. Hitting on 5s does nothing. And then there's another ability that lets you get into a combat and then not take a fatigue at the end of it, so you could come out refreshed.
Wow.
There's an ability that makes you reroll 6s. So you could give your opponent a bunch of attacks, but they have a fatigue. Go in with your Hearthguard again. Take your armor up to 6. They're hitting on 16 attacks on 6s, but re-rolling the 6s that do hit. Like, how many hits are going to go through? So you could really push, one unit, just keeps going and going in a way that is very different from anything that normally happens in Saga with a unit that can just keep going like that. You can do, like in my game, I talked about the sacrificial unit going in the warlord. Here's more attacks. I'm going in fresh. You can't use my fatigues to take your armor up. I'm going to hit you straight, and then also all these extra attacks I'm giving you are going to become hits on you now because I popped death is nothing. So, just really cool. I'm glad they kept it in because it just so many options, Monty. Got me excited here.
That'll be fun.
But yeah, overall, most of the Saxon abilities are the same. Maybe 3 of the 10 were changed slightly. From the other boards I looked at, this one is mostly intact. As far as the strength and stuff like that, I think this is a fun board to play. I don't think it'll be a super killer top tier board or anything like that, because it is trading, defense for attack, and other boards can just use their abilities to get attack without sacrificing their defense. And then there's some stuff here with the armor has to be higher and conditional stuff. So my other game was against Pagan Rus, and some of my abilities I need to be higher armor. So now there's like another level of chicanery with the Rus where it could mess with me, and with their abilities. And I usually use your fatigue to take yourself up, but I need to take them down to use my ability. So I think there are some foils to this board out there, but it's very aggressive, very fun. Like my games with it, and that fear ability is awesome. And I'm very, very glad they kept that in.
Excellent.
So, Monty, I signed you some boards here. I don't know if you actually played any of these boards.
Not in V2. I'm too new and haven't had a chance to go out here. I do want to take them for a spin like ASAP. But let me jump in from the top, front of the book. Romans. So I do think the Romans are pretty close to what they were before. A couple quick hits as we're kind of diving in. I look at the Romans like before as a combined arms warband. They have a lot of unit choices, whereas like the Saxons and Franks are like bread and butter, like almost no choices, right? All foot, all the same. The Romans like have choices galore.
So like that's Age kind of Hannibal, unit selections.
Exactly.
Every flavor.
They do have, like before, excellent defensive abilities. And they do have, I guess what I would call is like a regulator. Like they have some really stellar board play, but they also have the impetus mechanic like in version 1, which means you need to manage your resources. And in version 2, there are quite a few of these abilities that require you to spend an impetus, and to get the impetus back up, you have to use Rallying Cry, which is at the top of the board, and it's like you got to put Saga dice in that'll raise your impetus back up. So there's this kind of, you're drawing down on your impetus, but you need to run it back up for full effect. I think for cool units, we already mentioned the Manuballista, the Cataphracts. Those are pretty awesome.
6 Cataphracts and a Manuballista.
Oh goodness!
It just fits. Makes sense.
They're gonna look beautiful. I kind of wanna. In a way, like I wasn't sure if I wanted to do this, but it's kind of cool because I think it points up like the importance of finding abilities that kind of go together. So I kind of want to cheat and show like two stacked together, just how nice of a play I think it should be for the Romans. And so I'll start with Plumbata, which you'll recognize from the first one. It's an activation for infantry without range weapons. You reduce your impetus by 1 unless you use a rare. And then you activate a unit for a shooting attack with a range of M. And that's a unit that doesn't have ranged weapons. So
the big 12-man levy unit here.
That's it. Your shielded spear is almost mandatory. For me, it would be mandatory because this is just so good. So all of a sudden, this levy unit is throwing out little darts. It's throwing, it has an aggression of 1, so it's 12 dice. The enemy's armor does go up 1. But you know how this works, Rodge. When you're throwing 12 dice, crazy things happen. You know, you might raise the Hearthguard's armor to a 6, and you might roll all those dice, and your buddy will groan as he sees like 3, 4 of them pop up 6.
Yeah, we got to say, though, you do cap out at 8 on the just for the Saga.
Oh, right. Oh my gosh, that's right.
So
it won't be 12. It'll
is
be
nothing
8.
to sneeze at.
No, that's version 1 too.
8 levies putting out 8 shots. That's like Hearthguard level of firepower there.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Thank you for that fix. See, I'm already going wild.
We get
I'm
a
already
comment
bending.
if I didn't pipe up, Monty.
No, that's it. Thank you for the feedback.
Okay, so this is the 1-2 punch. You go in Plumbate. What's after this? So
you do want to go ahead, like for maximum effect, and especially if you're shooting a key unit. Let's say you're not shooting at levy. Let's say Hearthguard, Warlord, Elephant. You want to go ahead and take the spend to pick up in this sign Conquer, which you're going to have to reduce your melee 1 more time. And now you discard attack dice equal to your impetus value plus 1. So you spent 1, you spent 2, you went from a 4, so now you're at a 2, plus 1 is 3. Discard dice equal to this and add 1 automatic hit for each of the hits you score. So auto hits are just so powerful in this game. You just and that's melee or shooting. You can do it with Plumbata, but you can also go for a killer move in a melee. And yeah, especially if you start with full impetus, that is the key. So you don't have to use it with Plumbata, but a way to make your shooting even juicier is combine it within this sign. So
awesome. Yeah, I had my eye on that ability as well. Shooting is big. Melee, you don't have to be an attacker or defender. You know, just keep them sweating. As long as you want.
Right.
Yeah, the Roman board looks cool. Same kind of theme. One thing I will say is the Eastern and Western Romans have been merged. It's just Romans now.
Right.
So in version 1, it was Western Romans. And then in the back section, there were the Eastern Romans that if you wanted to use the last Romans board with some different equipment options. So it's been officially merged here, which is exciting because my last Romans Byzantine force is meant to fudge and straddle 500 years. So I would play them with the Western Romans board, but now I feel more comfortable, in an event, just using them straight up as Romans with the Roman board here. And I'm pretty pumped about this because I need to paint up a few more guys for that warband to get the levy unit sizes, because I need that for Age of Crusades for the Byzantines, and then now I need it for Age of Invasions for the Romans to get 2 or 3 of those big levy units. So that might be on the menu here sooner rather than later. So yeah, pumped for that. A lot of options with these guys. Very cool stuff. I will go into the Goths, Monty, the much maligned Goths of first edition here. So a lot of fatigue abilities.
Yep.
And with the ability to cancel activations and second edition here, people thought that messed with the board too much. And there are some changes to the board. Maybe half the abilities are about the same. Some of them just got plain better. I will say they lost the double rare ability that let every unit with a fatigue activate or charge, and nobody could use their fatigue. That got replaced with an ability that you could charge and they can't use the fatigue, or 2 units if you use a rare. But I want to talk about the ability that looks makes you scratch your chin. Interesting when you look at the board. And that's immunity. And that's on the left-hand side here. Any dice, whatever you want. Inflict a fatigue on your unit to cancel up to 2 casualties suffered by your unit during this melee or shooting attack. 3 if you use a rare. So this is after defense dice, after everything. Just wipe 2 automatic casualties wiped off the board. So we've talked about automatic hits and awesome. I don't think I've ever seen automatic just casualty removal anywhere. And I haven't even finished because after this, you can immediately trigger another Saga ability. So you give yourself a fatigue, pop this excellent ability, and then you can pop something else. And so that kind of gets around the order sequence thing where if they spend your fatigue before you can pop your abilities will become less useful. Because a lot of them, the more fatigue you have, the more bonus you get. And there's another ability like that attack that adds automatic hits, and then you can also immediately trigger another Saga ability. So those are kind of 2 ways that they've kind of worked around that fatigue issue. And it looks fun to me. I think it looks as strong as anything else out there. And yeah, I don't know. Did you take much of a peek at this one, Monty?
I did, and I like it. And like as you pointed out, immunity is any Saga die, so that makes it super good, right? And some of the other ones are in commons. You just you're kind of trying to think through. There'll be times when you can't quite get the dice you want, but immunity will always be there for you. I looked over in my stack and I realized it would not take me a lot of work to get a mounted Goth faction going again. I love them in version 1, and I really will have to give them a spin in version 2. I think I will. I already have the Goth cataphracts in the queue, so when I get a chance to take them for a spin, I will give you a report. But I agree, it's like, this one is a little hard. I kind of see like this works with this, but I got to get the right dice. I want to give it a spin and see, like, a friend of mine wants to do Goths, but he's very much wants to be foot Goths because then he can get maximum benefit from the defensive dice, and somewhere in here that might be more useful.
Yeah, I could see
But I
that.
like speed.
Yeah. Get in there. Cataphracts.
Right.
Cataphracts, Monty. Yeah, I think you could definitely put together something real quick. And then, I mean, even this immunity ability kind of makes you more comfortable taking the Hearth Guards straight out.
Right.
Small. You can build a pretty small army. Just load up the fatigues, and then, what kind of levies do they have here? Because they do have an auto hit ability. Just bow or sling levy, no javelin levy.
Yeah. Right.
The Saxons similarly were bow or slings. I don't think there's many javelin levies in this age, it seems. Cool. Monty, let's move on. We've spoken enough of the Goths.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one.
What next have thou in your pile?
So let's click on to the Huns. This is one that I've seen, but I've never run. And I do know because my buddy loves his Huns. He has a fantastic kit-bashed Hun warband. He kind of had, I remember that board that there are some changes. I think the Huns got a little better. That's my opinion as a guy who didn't run them.
Everything's fatigue on this. I don't know if that's
right.
I don't remember it being that way before, but
no.
like every ability has some fatigue nuance there.
Exactly. And they dish it in their turn, which is super powerful. Like, it's more powerful if I can dish the fatigue and then charge you than if I dish the fatigue and then you can manage it before I get a chance to take a shot at you. But they dish it everywhere. So the Huns, real quick synopsis, like as you'd imagine, they're mostly mounted. They specialize in dishing fatigue. The fatigue powers up their shooting and melee advanced abilities. They are, as you would imagine, there's like two kinds of units, like version 1. Hun units are it's your warlord, it's your hearthguard, and it's your warriors who are all mounted. And then the non-Hun units can't use the Hun abilities. They're your levy. So that's like your levy, shield and spear.
Spear and shield levy. Yeah,
right.
Which is interesting.
Yes. I know, and I'm only allowed to pick one, right? Because there is like a super juicy levy ability.
Yeah, I'll mention that.
Yes,
when
go
you're,
ahead.
when
I'll leave
done,
that for you one. Because, anytime I see something like that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love levy. And then you add that. I mean, now I'm sunk. But I like this one. I'm going to pick just one because it's tricky, right? There's lots of good stuff on here. But Death Comes From Above is a shooting ability where the enemy takes a fatigue after the shooting attack has been resolved. And your bow warriors, your composite bow warriors, your mounted composite bow warriors, like would take a shot. And actually, I guess your levy bow could too, because it doesn't say Hun in here. And you dish that fatigue, and now you've softened them up for some more fatigue shenanigans if you want to send your Hearthguard in for a hard punch. So I love the fact that, unlike the Norman ability says you need to shoot and you need to get a hit. And this one is not conditional. You take a shot, there will be a fatigue dish, regardless of whether you hit or not.
That's awesome.
The fatigue is coming. So I love that. That's going to be a little tool for you to set up other things you're going to do to the enemy. And now I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, this sort of... so all fatigue abilities, but there's one that isn't, and that's in the lower right-hand corner there. So low, you might even forget about it. Uncommon or rare. Levies only here. Melee gain 6 attack dice.
6.
And if you use a rare, you can re-roll all results of 1 on your attack dice. So you're rolling 12 attack dice if you're going in fresh with re-rolling 1s. So that's awesome. That makes me giggle just reading that.
Yeah. Has there ever been a juicier melee ability for levies than this? 6 dice. Come on.
Yeah. Their turn, your turn. No limitations here.
Right.
Definitely a little something in your back pocket, bringing those foot levies. Makes sense. Gives you something to bring. So, yeah, very cool board. Looking forward to Scott ripping me up with this board.
Right.
As humans. And so this is the one that will ripple throughout the ages. So if you're using old friends, new enemies, the Hun board is used by the steppe tribes in Age of Vikings, and I think it's represented in the Age of Crusades as well, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, very cool stuff here. I'm going to get into the picks now, Monty.
Nice.
Did you ever run the picks?
I did. I loved the picks. They were a lot of fun.
Yeah, loving terrain. Got dudes with frickin' crossbows. A couple hundred years before everybody else, it seems.
Exactly.
So the pick board, of the 3 that I've gone through so far, there's been probably the most changes to this one. It's hard to tell because some of these, they just change the name of the abilities. So when I'm like cross-referencing them, I don't know, it just makes it confusing here. But they did add interesting ability here. And I don't know, this one may end up being more for fun than like a game-winning strategy. But I don't know, I think it may be pretty clutch here, and that's Secret Ways, Monty.
Of course.
The peoples all the way,
tricks.
making their way all the way back. So this is an activation reaction, but it's quite different than the pagan teleport. You trigger this ability when a non-mercenary unit is the target of a charge or shooting attack, but before the activation is resolved. But the charge or shooting goes through. You fight the melee, you do the shooting attack, you do the normal stuff. But once that's gone through, you remove all the figures in the unit and put them back anywhere, entirely within very short of uneven terrain and more than medium away from all enemy units. And then, so the one thing I'll point out, because I didn't realize this at first, you can use this on any unit, no matter where it is. It doesn't have to be close to terrain. It can be right in the middle, like 2 feet away from any other piece of terrain. You charge them, boom, they're going to end up next to terrain. So, I don't know, there's just so many options here, Monty. Interesting ways to use this to get out of dodge. So the picks have some pretty solid defensive abilities. So you can put something out there. They come in, you'll weather the attacks. You may have used all your abilities, so you can't survive against a follow-up attack, but it doesn't matter because you pop the chicken and you're 14 inches on the other side. And, this could be a Hearthguard unit. You could be set up for attack on the next turn.
Yep.
It kind of, you're limited because your opponent has to initiate it. But then now there's like a mental game and aspect to the picks. Are they going to stand and fight? You're a Roman commander. Are they going to run or what are they going to do? I don't know. Kind of aspect. So, do you have any tricks up your sleeve with this one jumping out at you, Monty?
Right. Well, so a couple quick thoughts. Number one, this is perfect. This is the idea of the counterplay to the Saxons attacking you in multiple charges. Yes. So the Saxons queue up, they get ready, they're going to hit you in 2 or 3 waves. Boom, you're gone. You're more than M away, and you're away from that. They're like, oh, I was going to kill you. But the second thing is when you're playing your objective scenarios, it's a great way to do your teleporting, which you have taught me, right? You have taught me with the pagan people. I'm here. No, I'm over there. So you in your games, you're going to want to kind of practice your terrain placement. And with the picks, someone charges, you're like, great, I'm going to now go over to this corner that helps me with this objective.
Yes.
And people will be nervous. I mean, they're going to like that. You're going to get in their head. They're going to be like, my gosh, if I attack this unit and he has that chicken there, he's going to appear over there by, one of the objectives in desecration.
An ability so good that tournament organizers will be rewriting their scenarios specifically to, so I could potentially see that. But even if somebody writes a little blurb in there saying you can't shunt off the board, you can still shunt to the objective and get over there and redeploy. And this is too cool not to mention that ability.
Right. And Rodge, as always, there's counters to the counter. That's the game within the game within the game. It says VS of uneven and more than M away. So when you go to play the picks and they're going to hop around, maybe you want to put a little pack over here so they can't teleport right onto an important objective or something, right?
Sure. Or, they teleport and that unit's waiting to hammer, it's not the same unit that's going to hammer them. It's going to be a new unit to hammer them. So they're not invulnerable. So you can take them out of the game, by threatening certain terrain pieces. So, like the game within the game, Monty.
Right.
We're going to have some fun with that. I can feel. I'm definitely going to be annoyed. So Jeremy, local guy, loves the picks. We have yet to get a game in with these, but I can feel myself getting frazzled at this these guys escaping. I will have a bonus mention of the Atticati. So they in the previous version, they were kind of like I don't know the wording exactly, but if they were legendary or a mercenary, but it was, very kosher to just take them like in a normal list. The Atakati are still here. Now they're a legendary unit. So,
yes,
that might be kind of different. Now those guys were super nasty previously, and they still are.
Yep.
And they're warriors, armor 3, melee shooting, but 3 attacks each when they charge in. So that's the same. They cap out at 16.
Yep.
Thankfully, with the second edition. They've lost their ability to reroll defense dice, which was something annoying before because they would close ranks.
Yes.
And you'd go in and you're like, I got to kill these guys. They have another thing with fatigue, like the enemy can't use their fatigue or something. So they're just like Energizer bunnies. They keep going and going. So you have to kill them. And then you're just sweating so bad. You're like, oh, I guess gotta hope these hits go true. Because if they charge again, if they get next turn, they start charging again. I'm done. So they've lost that, but I don't know if this is worth. This is making me sweat even more, Monty. What replaced it was if they roll a 6 on a defense dice, they block 3 hits instead of 1. So now it's like, oh man, you're killing, any attack potentially, the biggest 24 hits, re-rolling, auto hits. If they just get a couple 6s, it's just all for naught. Oh, that's so scary.
It's true. Saw the same thing and just thought, wow, blocking 3 hits. That is juicy.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool. I think it keeps them more, if you have that, maybe you don't close ranks. Just keep your attacks, which is more like, they would just keep fighting.
Oh, yeah.
Based off the fluff. They wouldn't close ranks,
right.
Those guys.
Right.
So special props to the Atakati players out there, the Nakis. Definitely can use them. Definitely still scary as ever. All right. Now the Picts love to fight the Britons, Monty.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the Galvanize mechanic is still in there. Those are people who hang out next to the Warlord. Is that what it is?
You were exactly right. And that's like my sales pitch is if you're an aggressive player who likes to lead with your Warlord, the Britons, if you haven't played it before, that might be a warband for you. This warband has 6 abilities that improve if you're galvanized, and galvanized means you're within S of the Warlord. And then the small subtext to this is that Mercs and the Warlord himself are excluded from the galvanized benefit. And one kind of cool thing to kind of buff him up and make him even tougher is that you can exchange 2 Hearthguard, 4 Warriors, or 6 Levy for 2 Companions to form a heroic unit with your Warlord. So he becomes even more of a wrecking ball. And so as I look at this board, like, again, trying to grab the one, like, out of here that just, like, okay, out of all of these, since that's kind of the style of play that's rewarded here, the ability that jumps out at me is Dux Bellorum, which is an orders ability for your Warlord or your heroic unit. And for a common, uncommon, or rare, so any Saga die, you could just bank it here. You can give your Warlord or his heroic unit Resilience 2. And if you put a rare in here, you give him Resilience 3. And that's like Warlord on the Beast ability.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just love the thematics of this. If you want to play aggressive Warlord, hard to kill, hits like a bag of bricks. This is King Arthur material right here. This is where the legend was born, Monty.
Exactly.
Dux Bellorum.
I'm coming for you.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah. I'm not too familiar with the board from the first edition. I do know this is like one of them. If you were playing somebody from Invasions, they were probably using the Britons, like 8 out of 10.
Right.
8 out of 10 Age of Invasion players approve the Britain
Yes.
board, and yeah, cool to see them still around, and doing their thing. They didn't lose it.
No, looks good.
Okay, so we popped through the original 6, and now we're gonna cycle through the last 2, the new guys here. So I chose the Franks here, and this is interesting because I was thinking the Franks from Age of Vikings first edition was a cavalry army. Was it not, Monty? From
man,
way back.
I never dabbled in it. So it's like escaped the memory bank completely.
Okay. So yeah, these Franks are, I think the barbarian, the invading Franks before the kingdoms and Martel and the hammer and everything got set up. So these guys are all on foot. So similar to the Saxons.
Yep.
Probably use the same models, I'm guessing. Warlord, Hearthguards, warriors, no equipment option. Levies again with bows or slings. Now, in the first edition, they did have special rules for the Franciscas, which are just a wicked throwing axe. Is that what a Francisca is?
You're correct.
So there's nothing special equipment-wise necessarily, but the heroes, Hearthguards, and warrior units, at least 6 strong, count as having Franciscas. And the benefit of that is certain battle board abilities require Franciscas, or you get an extra bonus for Franciscas. And so the Mercs also never count as having the Franciscas here. So looking at the Frank board, there's some interesting stuff on here. What, kind of my first glance here is I think they can be very efficient with a couple different abilities here. And then in later turns, you're going to find that all their dice are used on abilities. And so it's like kind of playing the Great Kingdoms in Age of Magic, where they don't put any dice on activations up top. So you're like, oh, I must be getting off pretty light here. And then they, within the board itself and everything else, there's like 10 sequential activations, and they're all powered up. So I'll mention one. So the Frankish people, common or uncommon dice, activate up to 3 units of warriors or levies within medium of a friendly hero for a rest, move, or charge. So you could definitely see popping that one every turn. And kind of, if you have to use dice to push these units, you can maybe generate a few less dice. You could do like big 12-man warrior units. And the other kind of interesting mechanic here is 2 abilities, Show of Force and Momentum. And so Show of Force, you pop a dice on there, and then you put some markers there. And then every time you win a melee, you remove a marker. So once you win 3 melees, the ability is kind of used. Now, it doesn't use anything, but it puts 3 markers on Momentum, which is an orders ability. So remove any number of markers to choose that many friendly units. Until the end of the turn, these units gain the Determination special rule, and they get a +1 to their attack dice. So you're going to use Show of Force. Show of Force. Show of Force, the first 2 or 3 turns, get it loaded up, and then turn 4, when you don't have as many Saga dice, the units are depleted, you pop it, and all of a sudden, all your units are going in, you're getting +1 attack, and you can use all your Saga dice to soup up your units with these attack abilities. And you're going to have there's going to be like a hell turn against the Franks that you're going to have to withstand if you're playing against them. And I think that's kind of a cool concept, little mechanic. They just didn't add any extra rules outside of the board or explanation. It's just within the board itself, these two abilities is kind of something new that we haven't seen before in Saga abilities. Anything else catch your eye about the Franks here? I mean, a lot of attack dice abilities here.
Yep.
A charge with no fatigue. Remove some fatigues. So there's a gain 4 defense dice ability here, though.
Yeah. That's to help you probably get your show of force, get your 3 wins, right? But it's also just ace defense if you're closing ranks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough to say how that'll work, or because you have to win the melee, and so you're like, well, I can win 1 for sure on my turn, but it's tough to do 2. So there could be that clutch turn where you really need the 3rd one, and they're just saving their dice, and you're just kind of rolling it through the old-fashioned way, just hoping you win. You roll better than the other guy.
So Rodge, I have to confess, I looked over and I realized I had 2 points of Frankish warriors. I had some archers that look very Frankish with the top knots and shirtless. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can paint these guys up pretty easily. So I kind of spent a little time sussing this out. I think it's really, it might take a few plays. You might have to kind of give this a little bit of attention, but with the Francesca abilities, it's like a regulator. You're thinking warriors, but then if your warriors get nicked down to less than 6 figures, you're losing that ability, and that's really a key ability. So then you're thinking, well, I'll bring in Hearthguard, but then you're like, well, I don't want a whole Hearthguard warband of Frank. So then it's something more like 2 12 packs, or a 12 and a 4 to generate dice. But you definitely want a lot of warriors, because you don't want them to have them charge once and then they go flat, right?
You gotta have the second charge with the Francisca. You gotta be at least six strong for the second charge.
Exactly. And what's kind of cool, again, you're peeking under the hood and you're trying to figure out how all those pieces go together, but they have 2 abilities on here. One is ban, lets you activate for a charge that generates no fatigue. It's huge as part of this, trying to do a Saxon double charges or fatigue free, do more than one thing in a turn with a unit. And then you can combine that with Vigor and Ardor, which if your unit's equipped with Francesca, after a unit withdraws, they remove its fatigue. So if you stack that with ban, you're now hitting someone, and then you're taking your fatigue off, and then you're I'm not going to pull ban, and I'm going to charge with no fatigue, so I can double charge. Come in and mess you up. So anyways, it looks like the Saxons. There's elements of the Saxons, and I think if you paint Saxons, obviously they're the same build as the Franks. You paint Franks, you can use them as Saxons. So nice synergy there that you can paint 1, play 2.
Yeah, I agree. They're quite similar. They're both aggressive. The Saxons are more throw your body.
Oh yeah,
the enemy version, where I think we'll have to see, but I think there's some great defensive abilities on here. So if you're looking at a top battle board, you have good attack, good defensive abilities. 1 gains 4 defense dice. You have another one mooned here. If you pop a rare on it, the enemy discards 6 attack dice. I mean, come on.
Ouch.
Come on, Monty.
You just put that rare in there and you say, come at me, bro.
Yeah, that's so demoralizing.
That is demoralizing.
Out of just automatic, these are gone. So there's some clutch abilities in there, and if the Saxons, if we get tired of them, the Frankies here, I think it'll be very, very fun, very cool for us.
Yes,
excellent addition to the Invasions lineup here. And I think they'll be popular. I think they'll be gnarly.
Agreed.
What about the Sassanids here, Monty?
Woo! I think people will love the Sassanids. And it's only 1 data point, but looking in our Discord server, people are off to the races already, partly because there are gorgeous figures, really just beautiful Sassanid Persian figures out there. And also, not from us, of course, but some other people have kind of given some pre-reads, and they've fallen in love with the Persian, so people have noticed that. So to kind of give our little pitch here, You are going to want to like at least not hate painting horses if you're going to do Sassanids, because the Warlord, the Hearthguard, and the Warriors all must be mounted. Your levy is on foot. And the real quick kind of overview for the warband is, while you look at this thing and you count out 5 abilities that have a shooting component, right? So shooting is their thing, but you kind of dig in and it's like, wait a minute, this warband can also fight. So they can shoot you and they can fight you, and that's really a nice synergy. Like, it's not one or the other. It's not like, oh, I live and die by the bow. I can weaken you and then I'm going to get in there and I'm going to fight you too.
So yeah, another kind of combined arms style list to go up against the Romans.
Oh, perfect!
Naturally,
right?
So you
Classic.
got some really interesting matchups against those guys. Getting your shooters into their cav, charging in the elephants, going nuts here.
Right into my cataphract. Boo!
Oosh, yeah.
Right?
You got the Manual Ballista gunning them down as quick as they come.
I'll be aiming for that elephant, I think.
A lot of cool stuff here.
Yep.
Definitely some abilities here to support that elephant as well, which is good. And yeah, it looks like a fun board. Break out those composite bows. Probably going to want a unit or 2 of those guys.
Yep.
But yeah, I think
the one that like kind of stands like the first time I read it through, right? I thought, Rodge, am I reading this right? And so I didn't even get a chance to level set this with you, right? But inexorable advance for any Saga die, common, uncommon, or rare activation. Choose one of your elephants or Hearthguard units. Roll 1 die or 2 if you choose your Hearthguard. For each non-hero enemy unit within S of the chosen unit, the targeted unit takes a casualty for each results that's higher than their shooting. And if you spend a rare here, they take a casualty for each roll that's equal to their shooting armor. So the ideal play here is on a unit of Hearthguard, and I'm thinking about it, a unit of Hearthguard, maybe the cataphracts, kind of like spread out a little bit.
12 inches.
Go consult those rules. What is the maximum? And just move them up, play a common, and then your buddy will just sigh, because here you go. Oh, got that one. I got one there, and I got one there, and one there.
Just down the line, yeah.
Right.
So it's essentially a shooting ability with a range of short, but the unit's not being activated. You're not rolling to hit. They're just taking casualties.
Yeah.
And just plink, plink,
That's
plink,
it.
down the line.
Very demoralizing.
Any dice here. So that's cool. I guess I would have liked to see 1 for the Hearthguard and 2 for the elephant. They should have flip-flopped that.
Oh, I like that. I see where you're coming from. Yeah.
If I was going to rewrite the rule, I think you should. The elephant's smaller, and he's bigger, so I think he should have had the 2. But very cool ability, and I think we'll see a good number of Sassanid players as well. So we made it through, Monty. They have old friends, new enemies. Not going to get into that stuff too much. Maybe we'll save it for next time. Maybe we can do a part 2. A lot of Merc options, same as last time. A lot of repeats from the different ages here, and then some of the same options from before. And then we have the return of the scenarios in here, Monty.
Yep.
And so I know we wanted to talk about some scenarios and scratch stuff. So maybe we'll roll that into an upcoming scenario episode as well. That. So there's some meat here.
Oh, yeah.
If you are a veteran player here, you're going to be pretty pleased here. And even if you're not interested in this age necessarily, pick it up for the scenarios, I would say. And they do have the Limes campaign as well. Version 2 here. Did not really look at that. Hopefully the criticisms and critiques have been contemplated and everything updated for version 2. So there's a lot here. We're just skimming the surface, and I think. What do you think about just playing within Age of Invasions? I think there's enough here.
Oh yeah.
For if you guys just want to play Invasions, you got enough here.
Bingo.
Just with these 8 factions, not even including the extras with old friends, new enemies, and mercs. What do we got? We got 2 combined arms. I would say the picks are kind of a combined arms too, actually.
Yeah.
Saxons, Franks, pure aggression, Goths, aggressive fellows as well, as you do for the age. That's 6. Leaving the Bretons with their own little shtick with the Warlord, and then the Huns kind of doing their own thing as well. So I think you got a lot of variety just within this age here. And I played 2 inter-age games, Saxons versus Crusades and Age of Vikings. So we didn't have any issues doing the interplay there. So I think if you want to do Invasions, Vikings, Crusades events, that makes sense. Let her rip. I don't think you'll have any issues here. Any general comments about that or anything, Monty?
I think you're spot on there, Rodge. The more that I play mixing periods, I think it's just fine. It just increases the universe of matchups, and it's almost like till you get to the table, you don't quite see like, oh, I have a counter, or oh, that's a matchup thing. But I think you're exactly right. I think you can mix all 3 of those ages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. They did a bang up job here. Looking forward to picking up my physical copy here.
Same.
Getting the battle boards rolling, full color, 9x12 glory. None of this 8.5 by 11 black and white. That's no way to play, Monty. Yeah. So a lot to cover. We didn't even touch the legendary stuff. There's a lot to chew on. We'll take a couple more bites in the next months here, but I think we're coming to an end here. So if you have any thoughts or comments, post them below. We will be answering comments from this is September, August, and July in the next one. So we'll be spending a lot of time on that. And hopefully we'll have the books in our hands by then. It's possible. Won't rule it out. And I hope you guys do as well. Any closing thoughts here? Monty, Saga Storm. We forgot to mention that. Dang-gummit.
Saga Storm. Coming up. A Saga Day in the Park, one of my favorite annual events out in the park, and then we will we will mask up and go inside for a mega battle around 5 o'clock, and it's always a blast. I think it's Age of Magic this year, so
yep. Saturday, September 18th in the Twin Cities. So if you're anywhere in the Midwest, it's well worth a trip getting up there. It's got a loose under the Hall of the Mountain King Viking mythology theme to it. So I don't know that will turn anybody away. That doesn't have the right stuff. But I will be bringing the pagans back, Monty. Since I painted all those archers, I have a Wild Kings of the Wild, Lords of the Wild.
Yes, Lords of the Wild.
Force.
Yes, perfect.
I got some mounted guys, like it's perfect. And I think I came up with something that will make my opponents cry. So I'm really excited about that. Monty, game 1, buddy.
I want to see it.
Get those salty tears ready.
Make your opponents cry. I'm going to be, mum's the word. I have some guesses, but we'll see. We'll see if I'm a good guesser.
Okay. But it'll be fun, good times.
Yeah.
Check it out if you're in the area. And I'm going to be there before next time. And hopefully have some buds in tow. But okay, we're going a little long here, so we're going to call it. Thank you, Monty, once again for diving in to the invasions with me, man. This is exciting. It's been a while since we had a release here, so I've had fun playing, and can't wait for everybody to get the boards, get rolling, and see what the buzz is about. And I'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Saga!